Final thoughts, Raz?
LGD's been looking good just off of off-season, obviously. But JD Gaming has the least amount of work through the off-season that they've made changes on the team. I will have to say that JD takes game one.
Final thoughts on this new Champion Select music?
It's lit.
Thank you very much, Raz. LGD and JingDong. I need to get used to saying that. JD.
Like from
JD,
Scrubs.
JingDong. That's perfect.
I got you.
All right, 100%. That's how you've been thinking about it. Either way, got these bands coming in thick and fast. Fiora, Caitlyn, and Sivir.
Is that actually a ban?
Which one?
Which one do you think?
Sivir?
Yeah.
I mean, it's input the other side for us. And Karma, Galio, and Zach as well for LGD.
Another huge Thresh priority. This makes sense, though. Yes, we had 5, kind of the one trick, and yeah, we're seeing a lot more Thresh pop up. But Cloud is also the one trick Thresh player. He made a name for himself. I believe he was #1 on his server for a bit, just playing Thresh. So he is a god to be feared on this champion.
Fair enough, and it warrants a first pick. Kalista, here we go. For LGD coming out here. Let's see if it's going to be the Death Dance, because we've seen a bit of Kalista worldwide, but not with the Death Dance build.
Yeah, and I was actually really looking forward to Kalista kind of making her way back into the meta, like you said, that Death Dance, giving her a bit more options, especially for early build pass, just because it builds out of 10 million longswords. The other thing is, while Cloud needs to be respected for his Thresh play, Imp needs to be respected for his Kalista play. He is the Kalista player in the LPL. It started out really rocky when he initially got him the champion, but eventually he smoothed it over. And he's already gotten 2 respect bans in both the Sivir and Caitlyn, so had to go back to #3.
I would have said that his #3 would be Twitch, but I'm happy to say that this is a little bit more consistent than the Twitch. At the same time, Lee Sin was picked up alongside for LGD over towards Amy. It's pretty much the champion did best with in the last split in spring. And JD Gaming with the Rengar into the jungle here for Clid, and the Caso for either Doinby or Carbate, most likely Doinby.
I have no idea why the LPL is so infatuated with Rengar right now when Elise is so powerful right now. Moby junglers who have heavy early gank pressure, the ability to turn lanes, again, especially because Rift Herald is so necessary now or so powerful, your ability to play the early game is important. That said, Kassadin, this guy is lit right now. This champion is very powerful. I'm glad to see him kind of work his way back into the meta, but usually you need to flank him with some sort of wave clear option.
Cool, did lock in Orianna for himself, and LGD going to the next phase of bans. It's going to be the Jarvan towards Carbe. Tam Kench gets removed and put on the bench against PYL.
Bench the Kench.
Kench has been benched.
Makes way for the possible pick of Ashe there for Barrett because you don't have the denial of Tom Kench.
One more ban for LGD. Where's it going to go, Frost?
Looks like it's going to be Varus. So many bans thrown at
Barrett.
Interesting.
What's interesting, Frost?
I just feel that Ashe was probably the safer
ban
here because Varus, you need to be that much closer. I think you can really exploit a Varus in lane because he's going to be pushed up anyway with so much of his wave clear.
He's against a Kalista, after all. No support just yet from LGD. Rumble down out against Jinnu, and he banned his Fiora, so double bans against that guy in the top lane. Would like to see where he goes next. Well, Kennen is still open. That's going to be it.
Would make sense, blind picking the Kennen. Like you said, the Kassadin theoretically could be flexed up into the top lane, but more than likely it is going to go into Doinby's hands. With Rumble ban, Kennen becomes kind of the next big priority. Although Sejuani is still floating through so many of these ban phases. We've seen her used globally. She doesn't have a great matchup into Kennen, so I'm not saying like, oh, the Kennen's been picked. Quick, get to the Sejuani in there. She'll have a really bad time. But other teams have shown that they are fine taking poor matchups for just how strong Sejuani can be with the current tank itemization and into those big 5v5s.
It's a game of survival and laning phase for the most part. Ashe is going to be picked up here for Barrett, so no real surprise. You're right that LGD maybe should have prioritized the Ashe ban over Varus, but maybe they know something about Barrett that we do not. And Gragas will be the final pickup for JingDong. I'll be going over to Carbe.
I really like the adaptation, not adaptation, but reaching for Gragas here. You've got an Orianna, you have a Kennen. Gragas is going to do wonderful to reset a lot of that all-engage or reaching towards the back line, although typically the Kennens are going more so the AD route, so it's about that split pushing, but in case he wants to group up for the 5v5.
Final pick was Braum for LGD, so shall we talk comps? What are you thinking, Frost?
I'm thinking that it's a very LGD-esque composition. You know, Jin is going to be doing his own thing. It's about getting priority lane assignment and then split pushing. Unfortunately for him, though, Kabe on the Gragas does have a great 2-item power spike, so there's this big window for JD to look for big 5v5s at kind of the early portion of the mid game, and if they can capitalize on that, then they can very quickly snowball this game out of control. Whereas LGD, if they can hold out, eventually Kennen will get the better of Gragas in terms of pressure, and then they can make plays late game using the pressure that Jinu creates.
Will definitely take a while though for him to scale up and get those items so he can chunk through that Gragas. Will require at least a Blaze Ruin King with a bit of attack speed. On the opposite side, some pretty normal champions, especially from Doinby. It's not like he's innovating just yet. We just see things just like Vladimir's coming out of nowhere. He was the first one to bring that one to the LPL. And Galio was banned in this one, so I'm going to see him in any of those roles. At the same time, excited to see how this bottom lane is going to do. Cloud and Barrett. I mean, just the fact that they are the Final Fantasy VII Remake bottom lane, it fills me with a bit of hype, but they need to perform first.
I mean, really, if what Raz is saying is true about his read on Barrett, it's up to Cloud. Now, it helps that Cloud had the priority of getting his Thresh pick. Again, he's a phenomenal Thresh player. I believe his nickname was the Thresh Prince of the LPL. Used to play on OMG before he decided to join the Comeback Kids in JD Gaming here. So look for him to open up space. That said, it's a Braum on the other side, and Braum may not be strong in the 2v2, but he's incredibly good at the 3v3. So it's about, can Amy get down into the bottom lane and make use of the play potential and setup that PYL can create for him on Braum.
And then again, is always the star power of Imp coming into this lineup. He's got his hands on the Kalista this time around. He needs to really start to ramp up at the end of that last season. Apologized to his fans for his performance and then just came out of the gate swinging, demolished every team in front of him in the promotion tournament. But we're about to get onto the rift for JingDong Gaming up against LGD. Perhaps a return to form and a rebuilding, at least on the side of JingDong.
Yeah, and let's remind everyone that JD, they did make playoffs. Unfortunately, though, they were taken directly out of the gate by IME. So IME went Hercules when they get into the playoffs, as they usually get that buff. And so unfortunately for QG, now JD, their road to playoffs ended there. So if they want a berth at Worlds, they need to also, like OMG, make a very deep run for the necessary championship points. So no slacking. Yes, there is a bit of an excuse because they're working with a new bottom lane, trying to get Barrett comfortable, but they need to come out swinging just as hard as OMG.
100%. And LGD would really like these early wins on top of that.
So I do want to quickly touch on the Keystone Masteries as we have them on the bottom of your screen. POIL, Stoneborn Pact on the Braum, not super uncommon. Again, the all-in potential, especially early levels when used in tandem with Ignite, means that there's a lot of damage. And again, it's about empowering that 3v3. Look at the junglers. Rengar versus Lee Sin. Clid kind of making possibly the same mistake that Immelexi did earlier by starting the Raptor camp instead of getting a leash onto his blue buff, so maybe sacrificing his jungler to help Barrett kind of get a good head start in his own lane. But Lee Sin has so much more priority over bottom than Rengar does right now.
Well, that sucked for Kabe. He's been shoved in. He's taking the riskier route of coming back into lane now. We'll have to trade off against Jinnu if he actually wants to get in here, but does get the blind side on him, allowing him to at least get back into lane, only losing 3 minions but getting experience from them.
Yeah, also forcing the pots. Should be noted that while we were looking top lane, Amy did bully around Clid a bit there, contesting the red.
And of course, trading off against Doinby in the mid lane. Won't be ramping up for a couple of levels at the very least. Hook is going to go wide, was predicting the juke there from PYL, but just decided to carry on walking in a straight line.
But already you can see Clid's sacrifice paying off for Barrett and Cloud, allowing them to get that early level 2. So again, creating space and a safety net for this brand new bottom lane.
Yeah, very important for them against Imp, who will have great skirmishing power very early into this lane along with PYL.
Does mean that Clid's going to have a bit of a slower jungle recall. That said, it's totally fine. Clears out one side of his jungle, makes his back, will now head up to his top side. We'll see if Amy maybe uses some of this time to again contest the blue buff. You can see the red ping already goes down, perhaps indicating Rengar is here or I'm going to go here.
Clid has gone for his initial back, picked up the longsword, that extra control ward as well. So we'll be placing that down very shortly. And Doinby is essentially trying to survive in this mid lane. Core is playing this very well, but both of them are low on the mana reserves. Amy is looking for his invade on the blue side jungle. Gonna sneak his way in. Clid has started this one off, but it's actually the dive that Amy's looking for. He may flash this wall and immediately jump onto Join Me, in which he does! Follows up the flash, holds onto the Q. It's all too easy, but Clid will find him in this bush, and he'll get the kill in return. So the buff transfer has been completed.
Hold on, though. Here comes Jinnu popping his head in. Looks like he's just going to back off. So, unfortunately for Doinby, I think he was just a bit of a reflex, but he goes and he hits the flash when he was pretty much done. So not only does he give up first blood, but he also loses a crucial summoner spell that he really didn't have to burn there. Fortunately for him, though, Clid managed to refresh his buffs and also pick up some experience as well as kill advantage on Rengar.
Feels pretty good on that one for Clid at the very least, and he kind of got a return on investment on the very start of the game, so now he's not in a bad situation at all, and he's going to try and double down and see if he can get this kill onto Amy and stop him from going for this red buff, in which he does.
Yeah, this is beautiful now. You need to take it quickly, though, however. Jinnu is currently busy in top lane, but Cool is actually making his rotation, so the fact that it's resetting here makes this much more dangerous as Orianna returns to lane.
He's going to go and clear out this ward, so he knows it's completely removed from vision. The ward comes in from Cool, but Wakabe coming down, it should be the take, and they have a blast plan to help them out. Oh, Clid's going back in. They want to try and get this kill before they leave, and they get it!
He's crazy!
Jumps onto Cool as well! Here comes Jinnu, gonna trade jungle lives for this one, and Jinnu has now just received a double buffs.
Oh boy, that cat's crazy. So Kabe, good guy, pulls down out of his lane, helps his jungler secure the red buff, and his jungler just loses his mind, goes all out aggressive, and then feeds the enemy top laner doubles. That feels bad.
It really does, and the fact that the wave is frozen in this its point is going to push back now to Kabe, but yeah, that's not a lane that Kabe can stabilize anymore. The Jinnu's had this massive advantage. Okay, let's talk about bot side. Barra and Cloud, how have they been doing? They're about equal CS right now with Imp and PYL, but just the fact that they're surviving at this point in time is fine for the bottom lane.
And just the fact of how passively they're playing it. The other thing that we need to kind of take stock of, as it's only 6 minutes in the game, is to see if Doinby's flash gets punished, because that was really going to be the deciding factor before Clid kind of lost his mind, maybe got struck by rabies or something. Just this idea of, if Kassadin gets overextended, can Lee Sin punish on the first
advantage. Cool's getting chased down. We're going to see another Rift Walk in 1 second. We'll go for it. And backs away. Force Pulse comes in. And that will be it. So Cool shoved out of lane for the most part. I doubt he's going to stay here as he's in kill range. Doesn't have the level 6.
And the only reason that Doinby has the confidence to make a type of play like that is actually the great vision. He's got dual mid-side wards, one on top and one on bottom. So he's been giving all of the resources as another hook. Come on, Cloud, I just built you up.
Yeah, Cloud got a little bit confused there as to where the hook went, and now he's getting chased down. A lot of Ren stacks. The Ignite comes down, but that's a very late Winter's Bite! Big damage out from the Ren, following up with the Baron as well, but he's slammed down from Kabe in from the top lane. Blast back, and really nice flash from PYL to ride the wave on out of that one. And meanwhile, Clid died in the jungle. We'll get to that one in a second, but bit of a scrappy trade on the bottom side.
But so much action happening right now. The fact that Amy was again looking for another dive on the Kassadin.
Yeah, holding no punches in this early game for certain. Amy's just kind of chilling at this point in time. The kill did go over to Imp, so for the most part, he's a little bit ahead in terms of gold against Barrett, but it's not anything to write home about at this point in time. Has allowed him to pick up the makings of a Ruined King, Blade of the Ruined King here.
So initially when Blade of the Ruined King got buffed so many patches ago, it feels like forever ago, there was a potential and a lot of conversation about like can Kalista come back into the meta. The biggest issue with her is that she really fell out of favor due to a lot of the itemization changes. Unfortunately, when you had every other AD carry that was just maximizing more out of it than she did, she was still kept out. And so I find it very interesting that Blade of the Ruined King has kind of come and passed now. We're on to the Death Stands. She has the option to build it, and he still sticks to that build.
Nice, is getting caught out in the jungle. Pretty simple. He was just trying to be a little too aggressive, getting into that jungle, taking away the Raptors, but paying for it with his life.
JDG are actually doing something that they do fairly common. They're one of the first teams that will make an initial early lane swap, especially after tower fortification drops, and they're looking for the dive.
Oh, Jinnu's going to use Thunderbolt. It's not particularly effective, as Amy is trying his best, but the hook does not land, neither does the bowler, so miraculously, Jinnu makes it out alive.
But it will mean that they've got the creep wave as well as 4 members there, so it is going to be a race for the tower, with favor going to JD Gaming. Now, JD Gaming don't just make this early tower swap when they feel they can't compete with the bot lane, they actually just do it to speed up their mid game.
Somehow, LGD just managed to shove JD off of the tower. Bot lane will fall to Imp and PYL. Yeah, this push isn't going to happen, I don't think.
Oh, excellent.
Big shockwave onto 3, but knocking Cool into the team. There's no getting away from that. Following up with Barrett's arrow to the face. 2 kills to GD.
And
JD.
it looked so good initially. That said, they're now going to try to push through. We'll see if they just bounce the wave off the tower. They'd have to wait pretty significantly for the next creep wave to come back in. So just resetting that one in the top lane.
1-to-1 in towers, but those 2 kills in advantage to JD. I know what's confusing me. It's because it's LGD and JDG on the other side.
It's not fun.
Almost anagrams of each other. That's what's confusing me. I got it now. Okay, top lane once more. Big shockwave out from Cool.
Looks beautiful, but then that means that Cool had to sacrifice his own positioning to be in range for the shockwave. An excellent dunk from Kabe into an arrow right in Jinnu's mouth.
Yep.
So it is not the first tower, because Imp and PYL did pick up that in the bottom, but they got the 2 kills on top, so nice little cherry right on the sundae.
The other thing that happened in this patch is you now see the status conditions instead of the names of the players. So more often than not, you'll probably hear me saying champion names because I can't see the names anymore once they're CC'd. That's something that I just realized happened in this patch and has actually caused a change to my casting. Because in different languages, it would just be like stunned or whatever, but I can't read Mandarin, so I don't know what the status condition is.
Yeah. I didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
I spend most of my time looking at the menu map.
Yeah, it's the difference between analysts and play-by-plays, but...
I almost never look at the actual.
I mean, that's every color caster for you. Bot lane, well, hang on. Bot lane tower is going to go down to JD. Top tower should be traded here by LGD, however. Arrow. Doesn't land. Cool is going to see it fly past his face. Another tower goes down. Slight tempo advantage over to JD.
Which means that JD can continue. Wow, I always think of Scrubs. Scrubs can continue to push this through.
What was JD's friend's name again?
Now that you've said it, now
yeah, I know, right? I just thought about it. I was like, why can't I remember? Jinnu going to shove Joinby away, but he's going to keep up the pressure. He knows he has Clid nearby, so he's not in any danger of dying.
It's also the fact that they knew exactly where Amy was, and they have eyes on Cool. So like you said, they know.
Doesn't land, but massive damage from Clid. Assassination.
They know that Jinnu is alone, and they can look for a dive like that. So JD playing so much better around the information on the map and how they're making their plays, whereas LGD are actually just being really reactive to them. You know, it was JD that said we're going to make the early lane swap. Okay, LGD, now we need to trade bottom tower. And then it was JD that continued to push through bottom, as LGD are like, okay, now we have to trade top tower.
I'm just seeing a lot of these force pulses miss because the change came in where it's no longer just, if you're in the cone, you get hit. It actually like has some travel time now, so there's a bit of chance for people to walk out of that. So I've seen like 2 or 3 misses this game, so it's one of those things that makes it interesting to see that Joinby is actually still picking the pick.
Joinby is the Kassadin OG.
He is. He'll always go back to it.
That said, LGD finally making probably their first proactive play on the map.
Yep.
Other than some of the early invades from Amy. They pick up a Cloud Dragon for their
troubles.
Efforts, I think is the word. Which means the next Cloud will be around 18 minutes. Be pretty decent power spike, especially for Kennen and Callista at that point.
Yeah, getting in position a little bit faster. It is nice for... What am I going to say? I think I just completely lost the idea. Oh, the early jungle invades was over to Clid. More often than not, he was in Amy's jungle, being that intruder, but he was getting punished for it multiple times.
To be fair, Amy started it. He invaded the first red buff, and then I feel like Clid just finished it.
That's true. He went back like 3-4 times. He really wanted to kill some people. And he did get a bunch of kills. He's got a lot of kill participation. How's Carbe doing? 2-0-2 so far in this game. Considering the fact that Jinnu got a double buffs donated to him in the early game, I think he's done rather well.
Yeah, had a phenomenal performance, particularly off his teleport plays or his 5v5s, and that makes sense. That's what Kabe is known for. Again, we gave him Rookie of the Split off of his ability to synergize and 5v5. He is brand new. Last split was his first time.
His laning phase is not too shabby as well. He's actually able to stand up to some of the best we have in the league. I think it's saying something when you're flanked by the likes of...
I know you're about to say Duke.
Yeah. I was like, do I say Duke first or Kim-kun first? Rest in peace.
You will be remembered.
Will be remembered.
But here we go. This is much more of what I expected from the LPL, and it's an early Rift Child. And I was talking to you about this a bit earlier, my theory about Orianna, and how I feel like she's actually fallen down in priority. And my theory is that I feel like Orianna is no longer as strong as she once was, because she's not great at early skirmishes comparatively to other mid laners, because she's really reliant on kind of those 3 items, more of a mid game. And Rift Herald forces teams to be proficient at early skirmishes, especially in the LPL when you're Did he fail to go over that wall?
I'd say he wasn't trying.
Especially in the LPL when they're fighting it over it all the time, and Rift Herald makes it so easy to break Orianna's wave clear.
You do need to get your hands on it first, but this time they have, so it's okay. B is setting up this play. Here comes Clint as well. Needs to get that bowler down, but he's getting blocked so hard by these minions. That may be enough time for Junior to escape. No, just kidding. Clint activates the ultimate, and the throw of the hunt allows him to get the kill.
And now we'll see where they use this Rift Herald. Should be a free tower, and it could potentially be a free inner tower. Although I think that they want to break mid.
That would be possibly the play. I mean, it's in Clid's hands, so it's wherever he rotates. Carbe, gotta find Imp, walk up to him. He's over the wall. We'll have to flash it, and Imp flashes as well. Misses the jump over the wall of Pierce, but he's still going. Lands the Rend. Will continue to start stacking up. EYL, oh, well, he's connected the Winter's Bite, so that's going to be the confirmed kill. And he should be giving this one over to Imp with another Rend coming out there.
You can just see the frustration from Carbe. Stops moving. He's like, I give up.
Oh, okay, all right. What? Oh, all right. In the tower going down there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a large chunk of the tower's health.
And you can see LGD resetting their back, so trying to make sure that it doesn't mean any more, so not going to let an inhib tower fall. But so much more map control now opened up for when this Baron becomes live, because they do have that inner top down.
This Rift Herald is still pretty... It's going to get another charge off.
Oh.
That wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be, but it's still a good chunk of damage onto the inhibitor tower.
Had to, like, clinch.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, though, in the end. You know, flexed for maybe no reason, but still good bit of tempo gained by JD off of that play.
The only fortunate thing for LGD is that their mid tower is still standing, so again, the theory that Orianna loses some of her priority because her wave clear can be disrupted by things like the Rift Herald now, whereas before that objective existed in the game, she could just sit there and be like, we'll be here all day. I'll wave clear for years.
Pretty much. Doesn't it feel like in this game that JD have the advantage of the pressure they've had and how active they've been on the map for us? Because right now the goal totals are 100% even.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that, but it's now kind of where these gold differentials are coming from. So the fact is it's from the CS difference between Imp and Barret versus the tower difference between JD and LGD. So the fact that JD are making more macro movements, grouping up as a team, you know, picking up their bot lane early, sending them to the top lane, whereas LGD are just being responsive and playing an elongated lane phase. So still kind of the old school LGD left over of, we're not going to beat you by making a fist, we're going to beat you by poking out everyone's eyes.
Barret gets knocked up. We get the kill though. Shockwave does not land. Hiwei dragged in for a second, so they're good to go. But that being said, they are only one tower ahead of LGD at this point in time, so those macro plays haven't created a massive advantage for them.
And I like the space that LGD are looking for a play there. The Dragon's about to come up in a minute, so you might as well burn the Shockwave because it'll be back up by the time that you can test that objective. So it makes sense that LGD would just try to throw everything in the kitchen sink in this window at JD.
Yeah, it's not a big resource commit whatsoever. You know, renewable resources, sustainable power, as it were. Cloud, it's just off-screen Sonic Wave hits him in the flank.
I dare you, take it.
Doinby is jumping in. Oh, hello. Where are we at? Carbe is coming up here.
Our observer today is having a bit of a hard time.
He's going all over the place.
I feel like he's, you know, he's maybe
to be fair, the last one was a guy also getting stopped by a Camille ult. And then a LeBlanc jumping back to her original position and instantly dying.
Just breaking ankles.
yeah, I'm not going to blame him for that one. Okay, this is a bit of a tug of war over the dragon at this point in time, but I think it's going to go to LGD. It is just a cloud dragon after all, so JD are not going to be splitting hairs over it.
At this point, JD's primary play is to try to connect the arrow, grab cool, and then break the mid tower. The only other way that they can do that is try to exploit these side lanes, push them up, and get some deep vision. Unfortunately for them, LGD actually have really phenomenal aggressive vision in their own jungle, so they're able to spot out anytime JD want to get down into these side waves, keeping Imp safe so he can keep control over side waves.
There's 1 minute until Baron, but I don't expect anyone to go for it in the short term. Now that Callista's back, we also have to think about the Ren damage that's going to come in, which more often than not late game is going to do more damage than the Smite. Baron, wait, he takes the whole combo and goes back in.
Also had
doesn't even take the lantern.
Also had his heal available, so if there's one thing to be said for him, it's that he'll plant his feet and fight you.
Yeah. Damn, I think anyone else would have just instantly flashed away, hit all the panic buttons. But no, Barrett saves all of his summoners and trades damage back on towards cool.
That is 2 big cooldowns used, however. Doinby.
No one wants to take Val's lantern. I feel your pain.
Stressing me out.
Yeah.
But this is what I was talking about with Orianna. You know, if you don't use the Rift Herald to break the mid tower, then she is going to be able to sit there and just wave clear infinitely. And what that's doing is it's allowing LGD to put a hiatus or a pause on the game and now just bounce waves and resources freely to whoever they want. And it's been Imp. Look at the CS difference. That's 50 between the AD carries. Callista's been in the bot lane. She's now in the top lane.
Yeah.
She's just throwing waves back and forth.
Imp's going to be massive in these skirmishes. I actually don't think we've seen Callista back in the meta since the change came through with Rend, where if you use Rend, you still get stacks while it's on cooldown.
Now it just means that you need to keep that much closer of a track on the cooldown.
Cool is just like throwing out shock moves against Barrett. Like every single time the cooldown's up, it's like, I'll give it a shot. Maybe I'll get him this time. That's going to be the case. Barrett stands his ground once more. What are we thinking about the FF7 bottom lane so
sitting
far?
here trying to think of all the different... This camera guy is...
All over the place, man. What are we doing? We've zoomed out. Is fight gonna happen?
I think I just got whiplash.
What's happening? Okay.
I was trying to think about all the different like cute things that we can say about Barrett and Cloud.
Yeah.
But they need to hit arrows.
Yeah. I mean, every skill shot's missing, but this one landed as PYL comes in with the Glacial Fissure. Amy, where's the cape? There it is. Right into PYL's open hands. And Jinnu is going into the mid lane. Okay, I guess he's just joining his team, and they should be able to crack the mid tower at 21 minutes. But Doinby still looking for the flank. Never mind. It's a 4 versus 5.
And there's nothing that JD can do at this point. Again, they don't have a traditional mid laner. Doinby!
Probably don't want to be there.
Cassidy can't be on the front lines to clear the waves, so they're entirely reliant on Barrett now to be their primary wave clear.
Still connecting onto PYL. Flay as well. No minions. Clid is off
Don't
to the
do it,
side.
Clid.
I know you want blood, but the flash away from Barrett and Doinby at the same time. Jinnu is chasing after, and Imp kills Clid off screen. Plus
And that
the mid
was
tower.
3 losses across the board for JD. The fact that Cassidon lost the 1v1 across from Jinnu, that Barrett had to force his flash out to dodge cool shockwave again, and Clid died off screen to Imp.
Yep. 7-7 now, and LGD have not only evened this game, but do have control. And all of a sudden, it does seem like an LGD game. The fact that there were multiple early game skirmishes, I felt like JD were being more aggressive, more proactive, better macro plays, but now we're still at 22 minutes, and there's a gold advantage, tower advantage, dragon advantage, item advantage, all to LGD.
It comes down to kind of the same problems that have reoccurred for Xiaogu, now JD. It's kind of their lackluster mid-game. You know, if they're able to snowball aggressively in the early game, then they can just run you over. They're just a tank, a very aggressive one, the likes of Clid, as you can see him, early with those Rengar players.
Yeah.
Leaping out aggressively, but when they're slowed down in the mid game, they kind of lose direction, they lose a lot of their steam, and then eventually they just get beat late game. And LGD, if there's one team you never want to take late game to a 5v5, it's the guy with Imp on it.
100%, and this is Angry Imp. He's hitting rage mode, and Cloud is gonna get caught out in the jungle. Definitely needed a Phoenix down on that one, but Imp is 2,500 gold ahead of his counterpart. Barrett is getting completely destroyed in terms of gold. And cleared. Okay, well, this is going to have to be the steal of the century, and they know that he's near the area.
And there's also Doinby teleporting to get closer. This is going to be close.
All right, Amy gonna kick him away, jump back into the pin for the secure. Doinby chased down now, down into the zonies, but he's still got the red sacks on top of him. Here comes Barrett from the sidelines. How much damage can he do? Rego with a double kill. Doinby turning up now, flashes into the pit, but will that save Jinu? No, will not. Barrett should be able to get him, but he turns around, takes out the ADC. Doinby with a kill onto Braum. And where's Cool going? He's going back to base. 4 kills to JD Gaming.
Just an absolute slaughter across the board there. They show up just in time. I do want to take a moment though and commend Amy. Amy previously would not have made as clean of a play. This time around, Summer split, flashes over the wall, disengages the Rengar, and secures the Baron. Does mean that LG at least have 1 Baron buff on Cool.
Better than nothing, right? He did make his way out of that one, but damn, that was a chaotic team fight. That was a nice mechanics though from Amy to kick Clid away from the pit, then jump in, get the smite secure. And all in all, there was still a net gain in terms of gold to LGD, because it was 1500 plus the Baron buff. So if they can make something happen with it, using Cool to group up with him, it could still be good.
I don't even think they really need to make anything happen with it or play the onus right now. The fact of the matter is that without Baron or without Kabe making a massive engagement play with Gragas, there's really nothing that JD can do to crack LGD if they continue to turtle like this or continue to bounce the waves. I think LG are fine that even if they didn't get to utilize the Baron, they can just sit for another 6 minutes and passively win.
Imps in the side lane, of course. All right, let's see that one more time. So kick on to the Rengar.
And then it's the fact that the Kalista ultimate doesn't happen. Kabe gets a massive knock-up on multiple members, and then Barrett slips in the back before Jinu finally notices him. Now, Barrett could have done a bit more damage here, but an excellent stun into the chained ultimate to pretty much CC lock Ashe to death.
Yep. Kabe is just unkillable and does damage at this point in the game, so he's a raid boss in these fights.
Yeah, that's the thing. LG, just be patient. Gragas is so strong on 2 items. You have an Orianna. Wait for that 3rd item, breakpoint. Wait for Imp. Just have
Wait for Clid to get caught. That's, there's also that.
20 million items.
Won't be getting chased down. And Jinu's waiting for that final stun, but yeah, I mean, pretty much just passively win the game. Eventually, Clid's going to walk in, die. Jinu's going to win the side lane. Imp can also win the Imp side.
Probably doing Imp things.
Oh, yeah. We didn't see it, but to be assumed, it is Imp after all. Kabe coming in for the flank, clearing out this minion wave, just assisting with it. It feels bad for the players like Kabe, who's doing exceptionally well. PYL dragged in. Is the team there to support? Sonic Wave lands, and it's actually going to be a jump post for PYL to potentially get away, but no, ultimate has been activated, and that'll secure the kill. Assistance to Kabe, and another kill onto Lee Sin. I thought he was going to be able to get out alive, but committed so hard to helping PYL, so at the end of the day, JD do cling on to life.
Yeah, and finally they get kind of their different pieces of CC to connect, because once they do get a hold of you, there's no way that you're getting away from that. But unfortunately, it's just, the arrows have been missing. Kabe, while he's doing a phenomenal job in the big 5v5s, hasn't been able to be utilized to kind of start the team fights. He's showing up to team fights that are already in progress. So JD need more fights like this, which means the responsibility has to go on Kabe and for Cloud to set things up for them.
Doinby also still pretty big at this point in time. It's not like he has bad CS numbers. He's got 3 kills, 6 assists. Like, he's still pretty strong in his own right. 2.5 items, and I'm sure he's got some more gold in his back pocket. So
the only problem is that their win condition isn't on sieging or playing macro plays and pushing people or pulling them around the map. I mean, maybe if Doinby gets big enough where he can stand toe-to-toe to Jinu or Cool and just run them over. But at this point, it's we have to win these skirmishes or we have to win the 5v5s. Maybe later down the road we can look at a 1-3-1.
He's not going to hit that for a while because both those members do have a sizable amount of magic resist and tankiness to their names, so it will be difficult for Doinby to do that. Barrett, though, is starting to ramp up. He's on 2.5 items, going towards that Infinity Edge now. And Imp, he did have a significant advantage, but we are going to have a fight on the boss side as Carbe is not in the place he wants to be, but Current to Colossus means he's very tanky. Big ultimate onto Jinnu, he's chased away, takes down Carbe finally. Meanwhile, there's another skirmish opening up to the left side of the fight as Cloud goes down. Big kick coming in from Amy, and the shockwave used by Cool, but his ally already died. That's going to miss, but it doesn't mean he's not going to pick up kills. That's one over to Cool. A 3-for-1 trade so far to LGD as JoinB is taking the long route home.
Imp's gonna catch him.
And flashed up wall, and he's actually just dead. Imp's gonna pick him up with a nice pierce to the backside. 4 kills to LGD.
So JD do look for the 5v5, but it really turned out to be more of like a 2v2 and a 3v3, and the skirmish definitively won by LGD, and they've got perfect waves set up for them, so they're gonna take towers off the back of it.
There's gonna be a lot of damage. PY is actually just tanking this tower damage so the minions are fully healthy as he moved into this inhibitor. Stepping up. Cloud doesn't want any of this in the mid lane. He will protect the bottom side. Couple pings onto the bottom tower, so it looks like they will back away from that one. Hook does not land onto PYL as he makes his escape, and there is a minute 20 left on Baron. So you have to assume that both these teams are going to go back to base and resettle themselves and probably set up for this Baron.
It's kind of the desperation race though for JD, the fact that they need to, at this point, rush to the Baron, lay down their vision, preferably get control of the Scuttle Crab, there they go, and then just try to buy time for LGD, not just to get it for free while their middle inhibitor is down.
Just like to add that Scuttle Crab just dodged 2 skull shots, but let's see that one more time. Carbe just take a lot of damage. He is a champion, but he eventually goes down.
And these fights really split off into Imp versus the world, or Imp and PYL versus the world, and then JoinB and Clid kind of versus the backline. But as soon as Imp and PYL are freed up, they're able to collapse back to the rest of their team and chase the Cassid and Rengar off.
There's also, with the dying breath of Clouds, he did place down a really nice box, which clipped both PYO and Imp as they tried to rejoin the rest of the group. So it was well played, but in the end, 4 kills at only the cost of 1 to LGD is a fantastic trade, plus an inhibitor, plus a tower. So they have accentuated their lead even further as Jinnu was setting up for a potential trap, but as Dragon is spawning, or Baron is spawning, he's going to push this one in.
The nice thing about having a top laner like Jinnu, who is just so committed to playing kind of split pushing or 1-4 type of champions like the Cannons, like the Fioras, is that it fits so well into LGD's MO and identity. When LGD were a powerhouse in 2015, it was really off the back of Acorn's ability to prep side lanes for when LGD went into fight, so that if they won, they'd be able to capitalize and maximize their victory off of the correct side lanes, versus if they lost, then they didn't lose anything because the map had to be reset.
Very true, as LGD make a very nice rotation to the bot side. Bot side? Bot lane. Top lane. Top lane. They went top lane.
The top side of the map.
They are dragging in Lee Sin, and Amy is still alive. He's going to safeguard over to Imp, and we'll be good to go.
To be fair, I think it's just the camera angle down here. It messes with you. I do that all the time.
I'm still getting used to those replays, man. Coming in from all different angles. Jinnu in with a flying. Oh, JoinB. Yeah, he's clicked. Hops the wall. Oh, where's he gone? He can do this forever. We keep hopping over the wall.
Meanwhile, LGD trying to play coy there, hiding in Fog of War after they've... This chase is still going.
Yeah, it's still going on. I mean, he's never going to catch him, I don't think.
He's
Maybe.
so fast!
JoinB's got teleportation. He's not going to get away. He's not going to chase him down. That's what I meant to say.
Well, with 3 Cloud Dragons.
He's still not going to catch him because he can jump over the walls. Jinnu can't do that. He's a cannon. Alright, how much is this Ren gonna do? A lot. About 900 damage. And he's only on that for like a few seconds. So, yep, that'll be doing more than a smite most likely. Around the Baron mark, but LGD have complete control.
The fact that they have such strong objective control through the Callista means that JD can't look for the smite steal. If the Baron comes down to it, it has to be the skirmish. It has to be the 5v5. So we now know that going into this, like, the line is drawn in the sand. This is where we hold them.
JD, it's tough, but they still have some strong points to their name. It's almost a little unfortunate that Clid has so many of their kills at this point in time. You want more of those kills to be on like a carry, like Barrett, or even Carbe, who could be a committed frontline. Good shield from PYL, JoinB trading off with Cool and Imp on the side. Great hook from Cloud. but the shockwave view is not a great effect. Join's going to jump in. Amy jumping into the fight, and Jindu gets a multi-man stun. This is a turning point coming in from LGD. Could it turn it around, but it will drop to Cool, and out to full-on chase. It finds one, and Kalesta is unleashed in this chase down. 1, 2, 3 kills, and looks like it will be the fourth on Takabe. Maybe at the life of Amy, but he simply does not have the damage. 4 kills to 0. LGD looking for the win.
And my boys look like they're back. Held by Cool in the mid lane, looking for the Renaissance as they also take down Cassidy.
The clean ace.
Jinnu with a phenomenal 5v5 performance on an AD cannon and reminding everyone you don't just have to split push.
And with the Nexus falling, LGD take game 1. 35 kills in this game, but they will slay JD.
Phenomenal performance to start up for LGD. Again, they're also playing kind of with some growing pains. They've trimmed out their roster, you know, maybe going on a lean diet there.
They're definitely in the cutting phase, 100%.
And Cool, you know, he missed a couple of shockwaves, but he did his responsibility. He held down the mid lane, he created the hiatus, the massive pause in the game that allowed Amp to pick up all of that CS to open up those big differences.
Yep.
And they just played a very methodical LGD game.
Pretty much, and you know, we have seen more from Cool, and that was still not even a bad performance from him. So I think as soon as he finds his footing in this team, there's a very high ceiling for LGD, and I know we say this every split, that LGD at their highest potential is like a contender for the crown all the time, but this is a good iteration.
100% agree. I saw that Jinnu and Amy talking pretty heatedly there as they were walking off stage, which is good to see because Jinnu is Korean. He's the other Korean import, so if he's talking to Amy as confidently, it means that his Chinese is strong.
That's a big point. And I think one thing to look at when you see the game that you saw there, you mentioned it, 5 strong members of LGD. That wasn't so commanding, right? That was more, that was...
Well, they looked great post 22 minutes.
True, but even then it was like it was a scuffle, and I think that's something to be expected of the two teams that we saw in front of us, both JD Gaming and LGD. Their focus is more so on team fighting, and they're not going to be the best team fights or the smartest how they're set up. And you can see the damage across your screen. It was the Imp show. Imp and Cool being able to output that much damage, and Jinnu on the side lane was also pressuring just a little bit, but the pressure that he had was definitely offset by Cassidy going off into the side lane pretty early on, even having the Rift Herald to bully him a little bit. So that was very smart from JD to be able to say, okay, well, we have the 1-3-1, or at least we can send Cassidy and really offset the matchup that is heavily against Gragas. And so that was smart from JD. You saw a lot of great points in the early game from them, but as the game went on, you can see the team fights going in favor of LGD, and so that was just pretty, I guess, frustrating if you're coming at the perspective of JD to watch.
100%. Also, welcome back, Raz. I don't think I ever welcomed you back. But also looking at these two teams, just from this game 1, I'll probably pose the question again when we reach the end of the series. But do we see anything from these teams that would put them above, like, say, a middle of the pack? Because what we saw here was definitely not bottom of the table performance from LGD, which is so much of that split. It definitely seemed like a middle of the pack performance, but from both teams.
It's hard to say because, A, it's week 1, so it's kind of difficult for that first point. But for the second point, they're in a very middle of the pack heavy group. Group B is just tough because you see a lot of scrappy teams, and it's going to be another issue for, let's say, an OMG that you ask them who's going to be able to come out of that scuffle, who's going to come out ahead in that group. I think it is very tough to find out. We have to see who they're competing against. So what would you think on that?
I'm going to be a bit more positive towards LGD. I know I should learn my lesson, but I feel like they shored up a lot of their weaknesses. Amy was performing much more consistently. It looked like there was heavy communication. You know, he was actually ganking lanes. He was ganking lanes at the appropriate times. So many times before, LGD's junglers would, you know, clear all their camps, and then they just wander aimlessly into the enemy jungle, and it didn't matter if it was Amy or Intruder, so it told me that, you know, maybe their laners aren't calling them or someone's not giving them information because, like, I've got nothing to do, might as well invade the enemy jungler and die. And that wasn't the case anymore. So already, they actually have a jungler. They have a 5th man on the map. Huge win there. Jinnu looks super confident on the cannon, and not only confident to split push, but also to 5v5. That last big mid-team fight, unfortunately we didn't get the replay of it, was probably the defining moment for Jinnu because he landed a massive stun.
And just to cut you off on that point, we do have the replay, and the reason why this is fairly important is because The super minions are going straight down mid lane. It's JD that don't have the ability to go over to the purple worm, and so this fight is imminent. They need to take this on a desperation. Amazing from Jinu to get the stuns, because that was looking pretty poor coming from LGD, and so it looked rough for LG initially, simply because Orianna ulti was really, it was scattered. It was a defensive ulti. They needed to basically buy time for Jinu to come in. So Cool is able to take it not off that team fight alone, because if you were to look at the whole game, it was Jinu. So I would say that Cool was more of a passenger on this ride, and it was Jinu who came out ahead on that.
I'm 100% with you there, Raz. I'm actually really surprised that Cool got MVP. I feel like that was the Jinu train and the Imp train, really.
It feels like we're going off a lot of storylines for our MVPs of Week 1. You know, Xian going back to the Jarvan, which was a big pick for OMG, gets the MVP. You know, in this series, it's just like Cool coming into LGD, like big title name coming into this one, being the tip of the spear. But I completely agree. And, you know, Jinu had that fantastic ultimate at the end, which basically solved the team fight for them, and then Imp was able to run them down with the Callista, and that was essentially the entire story of the game.
There's also kind of very different responsibilities. If we look at what is Cool bringing to LGD, how is he different from Godv? Cool's responsibility that game was to just lock down mid lane, to constantly be out putting pressure, to make sure that JD could never, you know, pick something up and move it around, that they had to always be paying attention there, whereas Godv is much more about unlocking himself, kind of doing what Doinby does, playing those side lanes.
Yeah, I agree holistically on that point.
We're going to take a quick break as we set up for our second game of this best of 3. We'll see you after this short break.